Hi everyone, my name's Peter, and in this video we're going to explore how you can best protect sensitive data on your Google Workspace for Education domain. And you can do this using a tool in Google Workspace which is available in all editions of Google Workspace for Education, and this is called Data Loss Prevention, or DLP for short. And essentially DLP enables you to automatically detect and protect sensitive data stored in Google Drive, Gmail and Google Chat. So let's now jump over to the admin console and I'll walk you through how you can really quickly establish some DLP rules to better protect your data. So first of all, you can create a new DLP rule by either going into Security, Access and Data Control and Data Protection. Alternatively, you can also configure DLP by going to Rules on the left-hand menu. And from here, you can add a filter for Type Data Protection. So these are some of the rules we've already got established on our domain. I'm going to go and create a new rule now, and Google makes this really easy for us by having some predefined templates. So we can get up and running with DLP really quickly. So let's select templates. And from here, we've got templates for financial information, health information sharing, and personal information. And these are also localized to different regions. I'm going to select financial information sharing international. So from here, we get our standard rules page where we can customize the name and also customize who this rule is going to be applied to. So we can apply it to the entire domain or just particular OUs or groups. We can then customize which apps we want to apply this rule to. I'm going to leave everything selected here to protect all of these apps. And now we're on to our conditions, and as it's a template I selected, these conditions have already been completed for me. So this is including checks for detecting credit card numbers, bank account information, and so on. Also here, just to highlight, we can adjust the sensitivity, so you can make it more or less sensitive depending on how accurate this rule is. Now let's press continue. And on this page, we can choose what actions we want to occur when this rule is triggered. So for Google Chat, firstly, it can apply to both external and internal conversations on Spaces, one-to-one chats or group chats. And if sensitive data is detected, we can either block the message, warn the user about sharing that information, but still enable it to happen, or just order only to monitor the effectiveness of that rule. We can also customize the message here which the user receives. For Gmail, we can apply this to both external and internal recipients. And if sensitive data is detected, we can either block that message, we can quarantine that message, or just audit only. Again, here we can customize the message that users will receive in Gmail. And for Google Drive, we've got a few more options here. So with Google Drive, we can either block external sharing from happening, we can warn on external sharing, we can disable download, print and copy, or we can apply a drive label, and I'll talk more about that in just a moment. But let's leave this to block external sharing. We can also optionally send this to the Alert Center, so we can monitor these rules and their effectiveness by going into the Alert Center. Now let's press continue. We can check our rule conditions which we've just created, and from here we can also choose whether we want to just have it set as inactive first of all, or set it to active. I'm going to leave that as active. Then press create, and this rule will now be added. So that's one example of a rule you can use. The other interesting thing with data loss prevention is that we can, rather than just relying on Google's predefined conditions, we can create our own conditions as well. So if I go into data protection now, and then select manage detectors, I can also import my own word lists into here as well. So in this example, I've got a word list of different health conditions. I've also got a word list for naughty words we might not want our users to be using, particularly as it's a school domain. Or we can also create our own regular expressions to have saved in here. And once we've got those created, we can then use those word lists in rules. So as an example of that, if we go back into here and let's look at our naughty words in chat rule. So this rule is utilizing the word list detector we've already configured. So for this rule, we're only applying it to students OU. It's only applied to Google Chat, and we're using our word list here, our naughty words, which we don't want students to be using on our domain. And once you've created some DLP rules, you can monitor those either by going into the Alert Center, like I mentioned earlier, or you can also use the Security Dashboard, which is another tool you get as part of Education Standard and Plus. And if I scroll down to the bottom here, we can see what rules have been triggered the most on our domain. And if I go to View Report, I can see more details about what rules are being triggered. And I can even launch the investigation tool from here and see exactly what Drive items or Google Chat messages are triggering those rules. So that's data loss prevention. So these are just some more examples of things you can use to or sensitive data you can detect on your domain using data loss prevention. So things like sensitive content such as social security numbers, we mentioned financial information, health information, but you can also use it to detect things like security keys or passwords and other sensitive data. So really lots of predefined data you can select there, which Google have already provided for us. So now on to drive labels. In drive labels, it's a separate feature from data loss prevention. It's also a feature included as part of Education Standard and Plus, but these two features can work really well together. So drive labels, as you can see from the animated GIF here, enables you to label your drive content with a badged label to indicate whether any sensitive data is stored in that document. And you can also indicate it's the security level which you'd apply to that document. So in this case, this document is being labeled as top secret. So if we jump back into the admin console, I'll show you where you can turn on drive labels for your domain. So these can be configured by going to Apps, Google Workspace, and Drive and Docs. And then within here, we have a labels button. And this enables us to turn labels on or off for our domain. And we can also manage our labels from here as well. So user account. So I've already created a file sensitivity label here. And in this label, we have several different levels. So we've got restricted, confidential, internal, or public. We can also restrict the usage of these labels to particular individuals or groups. And we can also use these labels for our data protection rules as well. So if we jump back to the admin console now, and I've already got a rule here configured to use and apply a drive label when sensitive data is detected. So if I go into filter this by data protection, and we've got a rule here about preventing the sharing of health information, and we're going to apply a label to that. So with this rule, we are detecting health information based on that word list we've already created. And when a word on that list is detected, it will automatically apply that label for us. And we can try it now. So I've got a spreadsheet here, and if I copy in some data and paste in this data, if we wait shortly, we should see a drive label applied to this document for us. Okay, so now our file sensitivity label has been applied and it's been marked as restricted. We can also see over here on the right hand side, we've now got a warning symbol on the share button and a pop out saying document contains sensitive content. And we achieve this by establishing another rule which is applied on drive labels to restrict external sharing. So this one, for example, is looking for items labeled as restricted or confidential, and is then blocking external sharing on this. So that means if labels are being applied manually to content as well in shared drives or user personal drives, then we can apply this rule to those items as well. So that's a quick summary of how you can use data loss prevention combined with drive labels to help better protect the sensitive data on your domain. Thanks for watching.